When the rich dance, the maid shines. A mind-blowing transformation at midnight. The clock struck 12 as the grand ballroom pulsed with shimmering lights and laughter echoing like distant thunder. It was the night of the annual charity gala, where expensive gowns flowed like rivers of silk, and diamond-studded necks glimmered under the soft glow of crystal chandeliers. But in the shadow of this lavish spectacle, there lay a secret that twisted through the air like a dark mist. For every enticing smile, there was a story half-whispered, waiting to break free. Celia, the unassuming maid, had always been a ghost in this world of opulence. Her hands, callous from scrubbing the lavish floors, held onto her dreams like a tight fist. But something strange was brewing tonight. The air crackled with an energy that sent chills down her spine. It was as if the very fabric of reality was about to tear apart, revealing something unthinkable. She caught whispers of a curse woven into the fabric of the gala itself. It was said that at midnight, a transformation would take place. A shadowy figure would emerge from the depths of the kitchen, cloaked in secrets and danger, destined to change lives forever. Celia's heart raced as she glimpsed the ornate mirror, reflecting a world that felt like a cruel joke. Could tonight be the night her life would pivot from the mundane? Curiosity clawed at her mind as she watched guests swirl and dip, their joy a sharp contrast to the darkness lurking just beyond the ballroom's glow. Laughter erupted, sweet and intoxicating, yet something deeper lingered, a tension so thick she could almost taste it. She knew she wasn't meant to be here. Yet the allure of that cursed transformation whispered her name like a lover's sigh. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The clock chimed again. This time it felt like the heartbeat of the universe, echoing deep within her chest. Celia felt as if the world held its breath. She turned to the kitchen door, shadows spilling out like a flood of dark secrets, mingling with the shimmering lights of the gala. What would happen if she stepped through that threshold? Would she uncover the truth that lay cloaked in mystery, or would she simply fall into the abyss? As she approached the door, a sharp gasp escaped her lips when the handle began to turn, not by her hand, but by something unseen, something alive. A figure loomed in the doorway, eyes gleaming with an unnatural light that promised both danger and desire. She could feel the ground shift beneath her feet, her chest tightening as she teetered on the brink of something unknowable. Would she dare cross into the unknown, where dreams entwined with nightmares? The gala continued to swirl behind her, a world so close yet so far away. Celia stood frozen, the weight of fate pressing down like a heavy cloak. A whisper of wind swept through, carrying her name on its breath. In that heartbeat the world waited, and so did she. Celia's breath hitched as she stood face to face with the figure in the doorway. The silhouette felt alive, pulsating with an energy that sent tingling sparks up her arms. The figure stepped forward, emerging from the shadows, revealing a tall, ethereal being draped in a flowing cloak that shimmered like liquid starlight. Its eyes, deep and penetrating, scanned her face with an intensity that made her heart race. "Who are you?" Celia managed, her voice barely a whisper. "I am the manifestation of the curse," it said, each word a haunting melody. "I am the bridge between dreams and despair." A chill coursed through her, but curiosity overshadowed her fear. "What do you want from me?" The figure tilted its head, a smile flickering across its lips, revealing a hint of sharp, glistening teeth. "I want nothing but to show you the power you hold within. The gala is but a facade, Celia. Beyond it lies the truth that could set you free." Images flooded her mind, visions of freedom, wealth, the life she had only dared to dream about. Her heart thudded against her ribcage, a mix of excitement and dread. "But every transformation comes with a price," she said, recalling the whispered tales she had heard from the other maids. "Yes," the figure replied, its voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "Everything has a price. You can shed your chains tonight, but it may cost you more than you understand." The ballroom's revelry ebbed into a distant echo as the words hung heavily in the air. Celia glanced back at the gala, where laughter and champagne spilled in joyous abandon, oblivious to the dark allure of what awaited her. Once you step through this portal, you cannot return to your old life, the figure warned, extending a hand. Its palm shimmered with swirling lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Are you ready? It asked, its eyes igniting with an otherworldly glow. Celia's mind raced. She clutched her chest, feeling a wash of heat and cold. Part of her yearned to retreat to the familiarity of sweeping floors and washing dishes, where the pain was predictable. But the desire for a life filled with possibility ignited a fire within her. She had only lived in the shadows, never truly feeling the warmth of the light. Gathering her resolve, she took a tentative step forward, heart pounding in her ears. I want to know. The figure grinned wider, an unsettling blend of encouragement and foreboding. With a swift motion, it pulled her into the darkness of the doorway. Celia gasped as cold air wrapped around her, swirling with an energy that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The ballroom faded into obscurity, replaced by a void that seemed to stretch endlessly. She stumbled and fell, the ground beneath her shifting like a haunting dance, casting her deeper into the unknown. And just as quickly, the darkness erupted into blinding light. Celia shielded her eyes, blinking against the onslaught of brilliance. When she lowered her hands, she found herself standing in an expansive room filled with treasures beyond her wildest dreams: gold, jewels, and lavish clothing that shimmered like the very stars above. But something was off. A mirror loomed large before her, its glass flickering as if alive. In its depths she saw not just her reflection but images of turmoil, heartache, and faces from her past, morphing and twisting into grotesque forms. The beauty of her surroundings turned sour as a sense of foreboding snuck back into her heart. What have I done? She gasped, feeling the weight of her choice settle upon her like a curse. Suddenly, the figure appeared beside her, the smile now twisted, taunting. Welcome to your new fate, dear Celia. Every wish comes with a cost. Are you prepared to pay? The words echoed in the vast chamber, leaving her breathless and trembling. She was no longer the maid who scrubbed floors, she was something more. But at what price? As the mirror pulsed ominously, shadows began to creep from its edges, coiling toward her like hungry serpents. Fear stabbed through her, and she realized the truth. Her transformation was just the beginning. Would she become a hero or a monster? And what lay in the mirrored depths waiting for her to make her move? The answer danced just out of reach, beckoning her to step forward, to confront whatever darkness lay ahead. Celia's heart raced as the shadows curled around her ankles, whispering sinister promises. It was as if they had minds of their own, probing, reaching out, stirring buried fears inside her. Would she really pay the price for this supposed transformation? The figure beside her shimmered like a flame at twilight, its eyes glistening with a malevolent anticipation. Look deeper, it urged, gesturing towards the mirror. What you see is merely a reflection of your past, but also a glimpse of what could be. Are you prepared to embrace it? Celia hesitated, her breath quickening. Each flicker of movement in the mirror felt like a countdown. Faces she recognized twisted in agony, her old friends, family members drawn into chaos, their smiles replaced with horror as if they could sense her impending choice. Please stop, she cried out, but the figure simply stepped closer, its presence both comforting and terrifying. Don't fear who you were, it said softly, but embrace who you can become. The cloak it wore flowed like liquid night, swirling with hints of the glimmering treasures scattered around her. You desired this life, didn't you? The riches, the power. It's all within your grasp. Celia's thoughts spiraled. She remembered the late nights scrubbing floors and folding linens, the exhaustion that clawed at her bones as she dreamed of more. Yet at the same time she couldn't shake the memories that were intricately wrapped around those mundane tasks. The warmth of laughter, the echoes of love, no matter how fleeting. Every choice holds a mirror of consequences, the figure said, sensing her inner turmoil. Your heart is a compass. Let it guide you. Suddenly the room trembled. The treasures around her shook violently, sending shards of gold spiraling through the air. The mirror rippled as it began to seep shadows, its glass distorting into waves of darkness that roared with secrets. The figure's face became sharper, more pronounced, a reflection of her growing anxiety. Celia! A voice boomed from the mirror, deep and familiar, rattling her to the core. Her father's face emerged, lined with sorrow, eyes filled with helplessness. Do not trust it. Don't make the same mistakes we did. Pain sliced through her chest, and anger bubbled to the surface. In a moment of clarity, Celia turned to the figure, fury igniting within her. You're not a savior. You're a monster. With each defiant word, the shadows recoiled, twisting and hissing. The figure's expression darkened, disappointment radiating from its form. Is that your final choice? To turn your back on power? Power built on the suffering of others is no power at all. She shouted, her voice echoing through the chamber. The room erupted in chaos. The treasures dissolved into dust, swirling around her as the mirror cracked, splintering with a force that sent shards flying. Celia felt an overwhelming urge to run, to escape the darkness that threatened to consume her. Yet, even in the confusion, a soft light emerged from the depths of her own heart, growing intensely bright. It cut through the shadows, warming her skin, filling her veins with determination. In that very moment, she understood a choice could be both a beginning and an ending. Then I choose to redefine it, she declared, stepping forward, confronting the darkness. The figure hissed in rage, the shadows writhing as if sensing a loss of control. What have you done? It shrieked, the distorted echo clawing at her ears as she felt the weight of the world shift beneath her. A sharp, piercing light shot through the cracks in the mirror, shining like a beacon. The shadows recoiled violently, howling in frustration as they tried to consume her. Celia stood firm, a new sense of clarity and purpose igniting her soul anew. As the light flourished, she could see new shapes forming in the chaos. They glimmered with possibility, spinning into something wondrous and yet terrifying. What would they become? As they reached out toward her, Celia felt the awakening power within. But right as everything started shifting into focus, the figure lunged forward, eyes blazing. Your defiance only seals your fate, Celia. You cannot escape your destiny. Celia's breath hitched as the darkness surged, threatening to envelop her once more. Could she truly forge a path through the storm? Or would she become engulfed in shadows she couldn't control? With the shadows swirling around her and the figure's ominous words echoing in her mind, she stepped towards the light, ready to confront whatever awaited her. What further trials awaited her beyond the veil? Could she harness the power within and tame the darkness, or would she lose herself in the process? The light surged, a glowing encounter that spoke of freedom and fear. Celia felt it pull her, gently yet insistently, toward a realm she had never dared to imagine. The glimmering shapes born from chaos danced eagerly around her. They sparkled like stars in a dark sky, offering the allure of uncharted paths. Would any lead her to what she truly sought? Her heart pounded loudly, drumming in her ears as the figure's voice clawed through her surging wave of hope. You think you can escape me? Hope is a fleeting illusion. It hissed, rage contorting its once alluring features. Celia stood her ground. Hope isn't fleeting, and it's not yours to take. If the shadows wanted a fight, they'd get one. She grasped that fierce light within her and pushed it forward. The pulsating glow expanded, filling the chamber, swallowing the darkness that had grown complacent. The figure recoiled, its once steady form flickering. Foolish girl. You know nothing of power. Its voice turned guttural, sending shivers through Celia. I am the twilight that embraces the unwary. Anger bubbled inside her, forcing a primal scream from her throat. I've learned enough to know I am not unwary. I deserve more than mere whispers of power. In one swift motion, she directed the blinding light toward the mirror. It was her choice reflected back at her, no longer twisted by fear. This time she added her own intention to the image. She willed her past, present, and future into being. The mirror trembled under the weight of her resolve. Shards fell to the floor like delicate rain. Each piece accumulated power, each crack revealing a flicker of her truth. Faces emerged, her own, young and innocent, the family she fought to never forget. Friends who believed in her potential. They filled the air, pushing against the flood of darkness. Yet in that ethereal moment, doubt crept in. A chill wrapped around her heart as she glimpsed her future, the life of wealth and solace promised by the shadows. Part of her tingled with desire. Wouldn't life be easier? Wouldn't the pain of scrubbing floors be forgotten amidst riches? But at what cost? Remember what I offered. The figure bellowed, its frustration thickening the air, turning tangible. Everything you want, Celia. All your dreams. Dreams built on lies are no dreams at all. she retorted, pushing against the intensifying shadows, light cascading around her like a protective barrier. Suddenly the world shifted. The swirling light morphed into figures, faces merging with the shadows. Memories of laughter and love intermingled with visions of avarice and betrayal. It left her breathless. What was worth protecting? What path did she truly want? As if sensing her waver, the gathering darkness surged forward. It billowed like an avalanche, echoes of despair shaking the very ground she stood on. Celia felt it press against her like a weight, threatening to pull her back into its suffocating embrace. Choose. The figure howled, its voice rising above the tempest. The life you want is here in my grasp. Then she remembered her father's warning. The agony etched on his face ran through her veins as strength renewed within her. No more running. She would redefine power not for herself, but for those she loved. Then let it burn. Celia shouted, plunging deeper into the light. It erupted with fervor, radiating outward against the shadows, igniting a battle. As the brilliance spread, the figure wailed, claws sinking into the focused energy like a predator at bay. And suddenly it slashed through the barrier, sending Celia tumbling into a memory, the warmth of home, the scent of freshly baked bread, laughter echoing blissfully. Was that worth fighting for? With a surge of determination she twisting through the portal of memories. Visions splintered and surged around her, a kaleidoscope of life. But in doing so she uncovered a new connection, an ally hidden among the chaos, watching from the reflections of the mirror. As the air crackled with tension, Celia realized she may not be the only one making a choice. Who was this entity lingering in her memories? What role would they play in the unfolding chaos? The shadows erupted, seething with fury as they lashed out at her again. But this time they would face more than just her spirit. They would confront her truth. A figure materialized behind her, cloaked in the same golden light that had embraced Celia. Was this the ally she never knew she sought? Inspiration pulsed through her. There was still hope in this storm. But just as they prepared to make their stand, an ear-splitting crack echoed throughout the chamber. The light quivered. Would they find a way to collaborate in this epic clash? Or would darkness consume them both in the chaos of choice? Celia felt the crack reverberate in her bones. The light flickered ominously, and the shadows coiled closer, their grotesque forms dripping with menace. Doubt surged again in her chest, constricting like a vice. Had her surge of hope just turned into a fool's errand? The figure beside her, glowing with an ethereal light, stepped forward, breaking the oppressive silence. "You're not alone," it assured, its eyes glimmering with a resolute strength. For the first time, Celia felt a flicker of safety, an assurance that this ally knew the darkness as intimately as her own fears. "Who are you?" Celia whispered, fear threading through her voice. The figure tilted slightly, revealing the contours of a familiar face, one blurred by the haze of forgotten memories. "Someone who believed in you," it replied, voice steady, like a lighthouse amidst a stormy sea. "I will guide you through this." A rush of warmth spread through Celia. She wasn't alone. Maybe they could counter the encroaching dread together. Together, she breathed, the words sparking a bright flicker of courage. The shadows twisted angrily, sensing the shift in her resolute spirit. They lashed out, but the combined light pushed back, illuminating the chamber in splashes of brilliance. As they extended their hands, shadows writhed like frantic serpents, hungry for darkness. "We draw our strength from hope," the figure declared, clasping Celia's fingers. "Our past is not a chainsaw of regret, but a bridge to freedom." Celia nodded, heart racing, the torment of choice shifting within her. Memories unspooled like threads, strong and vibrant moments of kindness, laughter, pure joy intertwined with sorrow. The shadows hissed, attempting to break their connection, but Celia's resolve solidified like iron. "Now!" she shouted, channeling everything into one relentless wave of brilliance. The air crackled as energy surged from their joined hands, hammering against the shadows like a relentless storm. The black mass thrashed, trying to retreat but quickly losing its grip. Celia could feel the weight of her fears lift with each pulse of light. The figure at her side glowed brighter. "Feel the truth within you, Celia. Let it lead the way." As the shadows waned, a sudden jolt of exhilaration swept through her. She could truly change the course of this painful dance with darkness. They surged forward, the unified strength forming a powerful shield against despair. Pulsing energy erupted, splintering shadows with sharp, radiant shards. But then, a chilling betrayal pierced through the victory. An echo of laughter pealed through the chamber, sinister and sweet. Celia froze, recognition washing over her like an ice-cold wave. "No, it can't be," she gasped. A shadow morphed, twisting into a familiar face warped by hatred. It was her past self, tangled in regret, clawing for release. "You'll never escape us," the phantasm shrieked, its voice wailing, resonating with the anguish of all she had tried to leave behind. With a jolt, Celia realized the truth. This dark incarnation was the manifestation of her fears. The failures, the losses, all coalesced into this monstrous form, feeding on every doubt she'd ever harbored. "No!" Celia screamed, wrestling with the weight of her past. Her pulse raced furiously as the familiar scorn blurred into a wave of memories, a storm of doubt. "I won't be trapped anymore." But the shadows delivered a punishing blow, slashing at her resolve, finding new fractures in her spirit. The figure beside her faltered, its light flickering under the weight of emerging darkness. "Celia!" it cried, and in that moment, Celia felt herself plummeting into a chasm alone. Panic clawed at her. What if she lost her ally? What if she was devoured by the despair she had fought so hard to escape? As shadows coiled tighter, threatening to suffocate her hopes, Celia had to make a choice: confront that which scared her most, or succumb. Shaky and vulnerable, she swallowed hard, determined to reclaim her truth. "Let us show them what happens when we confront the darkness together," she breathed, the resolve surging through her. But before she could act, a portal swirled open at her feet, its glimmering edges sucking away the remnants of her hope. What was on the other side? Would it grant her freedom, or drag her deeper into despair? As she teetered on the edge, the world spun. Was this the moment she would break, or the moment she would finally escape? Celia had a choice to make, but with the darkness closing in, time was running out. Would she have the courage to leap, or would she fall victim to the shadows once more? The portal pulsed like a beating heart, swirling with colors that danced and flickered. Celia held her breath, feeling the rush of air as the abyss beckoned beneath her feet. What if it's a trap? The thought sliced through her like ice. But somewhere deep within there was a whisper. You can't run from yourself. Before she could overthink it, she leaped. The world around her compressed and expanded all at once, a jarring rush of light and shadow. She felt herself tumbling through an endless tunnel, her heart sinking with the speed of her descent. Memories flashed like lightning: laughter with friends, tears shed in solitude, dreams once bright now dimmed by fear. Then the ground came rushing up to meet her. Celia hit hard, the impact jolting her awake in a dimly lit room filled with shadows that flickered like flames. She sprang to her feet, adrenaline thrumming through her body. Where am I? The air felt thick, almost tangible, with memories and half-forgotten experiences swirling in the corners of her mind. Cautiously she glanced around, spotting delicate tapestries on the walls and ornate furniture cloaked in dust. It was a ballroom, but abandoned and crumbling, like a once glorious kingdom left for ruin. Yet not all was lost. Before her, a faint glimmer caught her eye, a reflection in a cracked mirror. Striding closer, Celia stared into the glass. The face staring back seemed ethereal, almost unreal. Eyes wide and shimmering, they held a fierce strength she hadn't felt in years. The reflection smiled, flickering with life, and suddenly, the girl who emerged from the darkness wasn't just a scared girl. She was a warrior reborn. This is it, Celia whispered, the transformation starts here. But just as hope ignited within, a cold slither of dread coiled around her heart. The shadows coalesced in the corners, creeping forward like venomous beasts. You're still trapped, hissed her past self, now manifested in the darkness. You can't escape what you are. Celia's heart pounded. She could almost taste the bitterness of fear, but the fierceness of the image in the mirror fueled her courage. No, she shouted, her voice echoing through the empty hall. I refuse to be defined by my past. In that moment she held her arms out wide, summoning the remnants of the light from her earlier struggle. It sparked and crackled, pooling around her like a cocktail of memories and strength. Flickers of laughter, moments of joy surged within her as she regained her power. The shadows hesitated, unsure, their forms jittery as Celia poured every ounce of herself into the energy surrounding her. With a sudden thrust, she unleashed it, A wave of incandescent light that lit the chamber with a fierce glow, banishing the encroaching darkness. The room shuddered and roared to life. The dusty chandelier sparked, illuminating every corner with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. The ugly truth tangled with shadows writhed but was met with Celia's growing determination. "You are nothing but echoes," she proclaimed, her voice filled with authority. "You do not control me anymore." The dark figure cackled, its laughter reverberating off the walls. "This is just the beginning, Celia. You can't just wish us away." Her heart raced as she squared her shoulders. "Watch me." With every ounce of willpower, she began to dance, twirling and spinning like she hadn't forgotten the rhythm of life. Each movement sent shockwaves of light tearing through the lingering darkness, lifting away the shadows that threatened to consume her as she spun. The ballroom transformed, colors bursting forth in brilliant hues, unearthing a beauty that had lay hidden for far too long. The specters of her past screeched, trying to claw their way back, but the music of her truth drowned them out. But just as she felt the high of victory swell within her, a new, more unsettling darkness formed, rising ominously from the depths. "You think you've won?" it growled. This was merely a distraction. Celia stumbled back, dread pooling anew. What lay ahead? Was this truly the end of her fight, or had she stepped into an even deeper battle? The realization hit her like a waking nightmare. Time was running out, and this new darkness bore the weight of every choice she had yet to make. Would she confront it? Or would this be worse than she had ever imagined? Celia stood still, resolve hardening in her heart as shadows warped around her. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. What awaited her on this new threshold? Could she truly reclaim her life? Or was the darkness destined to win? Celia braced herself as the new darkness loomed, thick and pulsating like an angry storm. It loomed over her, a swirling mass of dread that felt alive, echoing with the whispers of all her regrets. "You believe in lights and dances?" it hissed, its voice a dark symphony of taunts. "You're still bound by chains of your own making." The spectral shadows around her twisted, their forms shifting into haunting faces from her memory's moments she thought she had left behind. Friends doubting her, a lover's betrayal, family expecting perfection. Each face snarled and mocked, pulling her down into despair. Celia's heart raced. She felt so small under the weight of their accusations. What did she have left? "Your light can't reach me," the abyss taunted, coiling around her like a serpent. "All you'll ever be is a ghost." She clenched her fists, a surge of anger igniting within. "No!" she shouted again, her voice rising, shaking off the binding power of the shadows. "They couldn't have her. Not again. I want to be a shadow of who I once was. I'm still here, and I've fought too hard to let you win." With every ounce of strength, she visualized the light she had summoned before, the laughter, the joy, the moments that made her who she was. It was a fire in her chest, pressing against the darkness like the dawn breaking against night. She visualized it growing, glowing, expanding until light poured from her lips and limbs. The shadows recoiled, the faces twisting in rage as she thrust her hands forward, sending beams of brilliance cascading through the room. "Get away from me!" she screamed, heart ablaze. Suddenly the room shuddered. The floor vibrated as splintered chandeliers started to resonate with her power. The air crackled, a mix of warmth and electricity enveloping her. "This is my dance," Celia cried, leaping in rhythm, her movements powerful and fluid, betraying a strength she had always kept hidden. Colors exploded around her, whipping like a storm weaving through the dark. The dance transformed the ballroom. Cracks in the walls bled light like veins. Past spiraled with present, and the notes of a long-forgotten melody echoed softly, lifting her spirit even higher. But suddenly the shadows solidified, forming a giant, contorted entity, an amalgamation of every fear Celia had ever known. It roared, a voice that shook the very ground. "You think a little light can erase the truth? You're still alone, still afraid." And in that moment doubt flickered through Celia's mind. The darkness wrapped around her, invasive, full of darkness. The fear clawed at her insides like a parasite. But just as despair threatened to consume her, a small defiant laugh bubbled up from deep within, one that was distinctly hers. "No, I'm not alone," she shouted, the words bursting forth like a battle cry. "I believe in the light. I believe in hope." With renewed clarity she flung her arms wide, letting the light wash over her. It spread from her being, engulfing even the darkest corners of the room. The entity howled, thrashing against the radiant surge. Light and shadow collided, creating an explosion of sparks and colors that painted the ballroom with a vivid glow. Yet, as the blinding brilliance swirled in crescendo, something sinister emerged beyond the shadows. A trapdoor creaked open beneath her, leading into a void darker than night itself. Celia gasped, balancing on the precipice between light and darkness, horrified and yet inexplicably drawn closer. What lay beneath? Was that the true heart of her fears, or something even more sinister? Time slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. She had no choice. The abyss below beckoned, taunting her with promises of power or destruction. With a decision weighing heavy in her heart, Celia prepared to step forward into the unknown. Would she find freedom, or would the shadows claim her for good? Celia's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing like a threat in the silence. The darkness below loomed like a hungry predator, its emptiness beckoning her with deceptive allure. A chill ran down her spine as she glanced back at the vibrant ballroom, the light flickering around her like fireflies trapped in a jar. She felt the intensity of her own light clash against the impending darkness and shivered at the thought of surrendering. Was it madness to step into the void? She grasped her courage tighter, willing herself to push away the haunting faces that swirled in the shadows. Every memory of doubt threatened to choke her resolve. How could she trust herself when doubt had always clawed at her sanity? But in her heart, a flicker of hope ignited. "I will not fall," she whispered fiercely to the abyss, channeling all her energy to resist its pull. Stepping forward, the floor shifted beneath her like quicksand. The trapdoor yawned wider, a gaping mouth waiting to swallow her whole. She hesitated on the edge. In that fragile moment, a distant voice broke through the fray. "Celia!" It was a whisper at first, then a crescendo of echoes swirling around her. The sound grew familiar, empowering her a friend she thought she had lost. "Don't be afraid," the voice urged, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. "I believe in you. You've always had the light within. Don't you see?" The shadows writhed in frustration, their twisted forms colliding against one another as they hissed words of doubt. "You'll regret this," they warned. "You're destined for the darkness." Celia clenched her fists and took a deep breath. With a fierce cry, she leapt into the darkness. As she fell, a surge of energy rushed through her body, radiating from her core. In the depths of the void where no light dared to tread, she felt the shadows swirl around her. They tried to wrap her in their suffocating clutches, but she fought back, channeling memories of joy, laughter, and love, and suddenly, a wind surged upwards, carrying her higher. The space brightened around her, and she gasped at the surreal spectacle. The shadows that once threatened to trap her splintered, revealing glimpses of shimmering light. Celia was no longer merely an observer in this realm. She was a dancer, a creator spinning between thoughts and emotions, shaping reality with every movement. With each spin, colors exploded around her. Sparkling blues clashed with fiery reds. Patterns of light twisted and swirled, crafting a tapestry of her life, moments etched in brilliance. The pain of the past transformed into a canvas of strength, stitching wounds into points of pride. But just then the oppressive voice of fear roared within her. "You can't escape. No one ever truly leaves the darkness." Celia responded, her voice steady. "You don't own me. I choose my path." As she maneuvered through the chaos, something extraordinary began to happen. Pieces of her past intertwined, revealing hidden truths she had long ignored. Shocking realizations sizzled through her thoughts. Moments of strife had molded her, not to make her weak, but to make her powerful. But just as clarity surged forward, she felt the presence of something even darker simmering just beneath the surface, waiting to be unleashed. The trapdoor had led her to a hidden chamber pulsing with energy, a heart of shadows more potent than she had ever imagined. It pulsed like a beating drum, resonating with fear and temptation. "What lies ahead?" Celia questioned. "What will I become?" The shadows pulsated with an immediate response, a dark whisper pressing into her mind. "Embrace it, you can be more than you ever dreamed." Celia hesitated at the edge of understanding, staring down into the abyss. The weight of inevitability pressed on her shoulders. She was so close to the truth, yet terrified of the consequences. Could she keep the light and embrace the darkness? With her heart racing, she glanced back to the twinkling ballroom, where flickers of hope bonded her to the world from which she had emerged. A moment stretched out before her, and she was forced to choose. Would she give in to the allure or redefine what it meant to be whole? With one final glance back, she whispered to herself, one way or another, I will dance. And then she took the plunge into the waiting unknown, poised between the brilliance of light and the whispering shadows. What awaited her there, and at what cost? Celia felt the world shift around her as the darkness enveloped her body. It wasn't cold anymore, it was alive, pulsating with an energy she had never experienced before. It thrummed and vibrated against her skin, merging her heartbeat with the dark rhythm that surrounded her. The feeling was intoxicating, a dangerous mixture of fear and exhilaration. Celia. The voice whispered again, its familiar warmth wrapping around her heart like a soft embrace. But this time it wasn't just a comfort. It was a challenge. Remember who you are. Remember your light. Suddenly the shadows halted, retreating from her like a tide pulled back by the moon. Celia felt an undeniable spark ignite within her, something ancient and powerful, and she realized it was her own will fueling this moment. No longer just a vessel for light, she now wielded the limitations of darkness as well. Colors began to swirl again, breaking through the fog of her uncertainty. The reds and blues danced wildly, forming shapes of memories. Her childhood, her laughter, the moments that had filled her life with warmth. They flickered like the strobe lights from the ballroom, images of her past colliding with the potential of her future. Then in a blink the dance floor transformed. She stood at the center of an enormous stage, a glowing expanse where once shadows ruled. The previous confinement became an otherworldly arena. Flickering figures began to emerge from the obscurity, visions of herself, each reflecting different aspects of her life. Some grinned triumphantly, while others looked back with fear and doubt. Choose, they whispered in unison, their voices a haunting melody that permeated the air. Which shadow carries you? Which light will guide you? Celia felt her breath hitch at the profound weight of their words. Each incarnation of herself represented a choice, a path not yet taken. The confident self wearing a crown of light stood beside a version enveloped in shadow, eyes burning with fierce ambition. You can have it all, the shadow self beckoned hungrily. Power awaits, just a leap into the darkness. No, Celia shouted, her voice resonating right through the core of this dark chamber. I will not submit. I am not just light or darkness but both. The figures paused. The shadows rippled, uncertainty spreading across their dark forms. In an instant the vibrant stage began to vibrate violently, the echoes of her defiance bouncing off the walls. The doors of duality widened, revealing an endless expanse of possibility. A dazzling brilliance broke the washing tide of the shadows, the merging of extremes. As colors intertwined, an ethereal glow began to cascade through the darkness, melding light and shadow together. I am the dance, she proclaimed, channeling every moment, every emotion into a single radiant truth. But just as hope teetered in the air, the darker shadows grew restless, swirling with a new intensity. They were angry now, twisting into forms that loomed over her, threatening to break apart her hard-fought unity. Their hissing voice echoed in her ears. You were never meant to choose. Your light is an illusion, a temporary flicker. Submit to us and we will show you true power. Celia felt her heart race. The duty to choose her reality pressed down on her harder than ever. With the looming shadows closing in, she had to make a decision. Could she fight against the tide and carve a new path? Just then, a flicker from the ballroom behind her caught her eye. Light seeped through the cracks of the door, illuminating the dark path before her. A familiar laughter echoed, pulling her heart once more towards the vibrant life she cherished. Would she cling to the safety of the familiar or unravel the true potential of her power in the dark? As the shadows lurked closer, a familiar urge bloomed within her, a whispering promise of freedom and an untraveled path. She stood at the intersection of duality, wonder flashing behind her and darkness looming ahead. Who will I become? She wondered, her heart pounding against the expectation of the unknown. The answer hung in the air, thick with resolve. Only you can decide. She extended her arms, balancing glamorously on the edge of two worlds. And then with one daring breath, she stepped forward into the swirling magic, ready to embrace her destiny. The decision was raw, It painted her future with uncertainty, but she felt a thrill of liberation pulse through her veins. Not chained by light or dark, would she become something wholly unexpected? And what awaited beyond the shadows that seemed hungry to devour her choice? Celia took a deep breath, feeling the darkness swirl around her like a tempest, yet somehow it didn't suffocate her. It hummed against her skin like music, a haunting melody that resonated with her very soul. The cacophony of light and shadow blended, and in that moment, she felt truly alive, her heart pounding with the rhythm of possibility. You think you can choose both? The dark voice roared, echoing off the walls like thunder. It was angry, desperate. You will fail. You are not strong enough to hold this power. But that only fueled her fire. Celia straightened, determination blooming in her chest like a vibrant flower breaking through the frost. You're wrong, she shouted, her voice steady and firm, reverberating through the chaos. This is my moment. The shadows recoiled at her defiance, twisting and writhing as if they'd been struck. The darkness held fragments of her fears, her doubts, and every breath of despair she had ever harbored. Yet here she stood, surrounded not by darkness alone, but by the brilliant light of her dreams waiting to be born with newfound clarity. Celia raised her arms and willed light from the core of her being. She reached deep within herself, summoning not just the light but also the strength that lay within the shadows. Colors erupted around her, a vivid explosion, swirling through her like a tangible force. The shadows quaked, and for the first time, she could see the beauty intertwine with the darkness, the pain and the triumph, the regret and the hope. They danced together under her command, and as she became the vessel of that union, the room ignited in pulsating energy. I am not afraid, she declared, stepping fully into her truth. With a final shout, she pushed forward, letting the light stream from her fingertips, an incandescent wave that rolled like a tide, washing over the shadows around her. It sparkled in a radiant cascade, revealing its own vibrancy juxtaposed against the shadowy specters. Walls of darkness collapsed, and the entities within dissolved, their cries of anger dissolving into echoes of the past. Together, she whispered, and in keeping with that promise, she felt something shift not just within her but all around her. The shadows transitioned, transforming into silhouettes of her past, the friends and family she'd longed for, each smiling brightly, encouraging her with warmth. They encircled her, creating a barrier of love and light against the encroaching darkness. In that magical moment, the ballroom no longer felt abandoned. It pulsed with energy, alive and vibrant, the promise of every unfulfilled dream lighting the room. She wasn't merely choosing, she was becoming. There was peace in her heart, the kind that came with knowing who she truly was, and a joy that surged as brightly as the light she commanded. The figure she had once feared emerged from the shadows, but now it was surrounded by light. Its features softened, shimmering as if thawed by the warmth of her presence. You dare defy me, Celia? It asked, yet now there was a tremor of uncertainty in its voice. I don't defy you. I embrace every part of who I am. You are part of me, but you will not consume me, Celia shouted, and with electrifying energy, she directed the brilliant beam of light toward the figure, shattering the distortion that defined it. As the darkness dispersed, Celia felt a flood of relief wash over her. The shadows curled away, stark and hollow without the strength she had once given them. And just like that, her past was no longer a cage. It released her into a world of infinite possibility. Celia stood tall, one hand extended to the shimmering light, her feet firmly anchored in solid truth. I am both light and shadow. I am strong. I am free. The shadows began to dissipate, swirling into ether, leaving behind a shimmering cloak of twilight that now felt strangely comforting. A final bow of recognition wrapped around her, reminding her that balance would always exist within her. And that moment, the clock in the ballroom struck midnight. The flickering lights dimmed and then burst anew, illuminating every corner and every upon the feast of love. Echoes of laughter filled the air, warm and radiant, intertwining with the whirls of shimmering gold. Celia smiled, her heart soaring. She felt a world of hope expand within her, and for the first time, she would step into it on her own terms. This was her transformation, the moment she would forever carry in her heart as a testament to resilience and strength, a bittersweet melody reminding her of the past while celebrating her newfound freedom. As the shadows faded into memory, she took her first step toward the crowd she had watched from the sidelines so many nights before. Now she would join them. No more chains, no more chains. With each step she knew she was ready. It was time to live fully, embrace the light and honor the darkness, the dance of life in its purest form. This was it, a life redefined, hers to weave anew. And every moment ahead was wrapped in promise. Now before you go, let me remind you of something important. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button for me. It's your way of supporting this journey. And flood the comments with your reactions and theories about Celia's epic transformation. Don't wait even one more second to share this adventure with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing conclusion. Your support truly makes a difference.